The first week of the NFL season was pretty crazy. We had some players pop off that we weren't expecting to, and now the waiver wire looks pretty juicy compared to other weeks, and it should be the start of the year, and now we have some decisions to make. One guy on the waiver wire that's kind of been overshadowed, but had a good box score was Tutu Atwell, and he blew up for over 100 yards, had a very good game in his first game of the season, but Puka Nacua also overshadowed him. Had a good game in his first ever career start, so that makes sense. But Tutu Atwell is a player you at least need to look at. So we're going to deep dive the stats today, see whether or not you need him on your fantasy football team. But before you do, you have to click that subscribe button. Stop missing out on these deep dives. Stop missing out on these videos to help you with the waiver wire. And we also got videos to help you set your lineups and win your league. So click that button. Stop missing out. But let's look at Tutu Atwell real quick. He caught 6 balls for 119 yards. Very productive in this game and had 8 targets as well. A lot of volume went his way. Looked good and had over 19 yards a catch because he's got speed to burn. And the Rams were not supposed to win this game. Vegas had Seattle in on the spread, and the over-under wasn't set that high either. And the Rams said, you know what? We don't care. We don't care that Cooper Kupp's out. We're going to throw it to our young guys. We're going to move the rock. Matthew Stafford's going to be okay. He's going to wheel and deal, and that's what we saw there. To the advanced metrics, he had 8 targets for a 21.6% target share, 126 air yards, so good volume all the way around here. We're getting deep balls. We're getting volume. Looking good. He's also playing a good bit in the slot. Maybe he's the cheaper Puka. What I'm saying is cheaper Rams wide receiver that you might want here because he's also getting volume. He's also getting opportunities on the slot. He's got some speed. Maybe some of these targets are just going to roll his way in some of these game strips with Cooper Kupp out. We're going to have to wait and see what happens there. We're going to have to see what happens here for the long term. Maybe it'll be off and on, but there are some indicators here that you should look at both players, really. You should be looking at both of them. And looking at the rushing attack here for the Rams, non-existent, 2.3 yards per carry. Kyren Williams rushed for 3.5 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns, and that did not look good. That means they're going to be going with the passing game a lot. They're going to be throwing it through the air, and they're going to look at Puka, they're going to look at Tutu, and they're going to be targeting those guys pretty heavily, considering what we saw last week. And then Cooper Kupp, remember, he's on injured reserve, going to miss at least 3 more games. He's going to be out for a bit, maybe even longer. We have to see what's going on with him. But this is going to give these young wide receivers some opportunity. Looking at Tutu Atwell, though, he's been in the league for a few years. Came out in 2021, 5'9", 155 pounds. So a smaller pop gun wide receiver, but has some speed. 4.44, 40-yard dash. Speed scores low because he doesn't have any size to adjust for. He's 155 pounds. That's why the speed score is so low, but he's more than fast enough to get the job done, as we saw on Sunday. So that's good to see. Very productive coming out of college. 36.7% dominator rating. Broke out at age 18. And you look at the stats here, counting stat-wise, was very productive. It was a stagnant offense in the passing attack in 2018, 406 yards. That's when he initially broke out. And in 2019, 1,200 receiving yards. In 2020, shortened year, still was very productive. Averaged 2.4 yards per out ran his final year and 4.33 in his best year in 2019. Had a steady ADOT of over 11 yards each year, 12.3 on his career. Deep ball city for Tutu Atwell. We got an early breakout age, a guy who was productive all throughout college, a guy who was really a highlight reel week in and week out. If you were paying attention to Louisville during that time, you know of Tutu Atwell. If you've been watching college football during that time, you know of Tutu Atwell because he was very productive. And looking at the schedule going forward, we got the Niners coming up. Very interesting matchup. They can lock teams down, and if they lock down Puka, then they may funnel some targets to Tutu. If they lock down Tutu, they may funnel some targets to Puka. Also, if the Niners get up ahead early, then that means the Rams might be throwing it late, and that may be opportunities to these guys. but also they may get locked down as well, and that's something you got to throw in the cards. After that, you got the Bengals who can push the game script. We got to see what they're going to be doing with the Ravens because they had a rough outing against the Browns. Then you got the Colts, and they surprised us. They were able to move the football more than expected through the air against the Jaguars, but still you got to pay attention to them. Eagles, Cardinals, those are down the line a little bit. We want to see what happens in the next few games with those guys, especially the Cardinals, man. Those game scripts have been rough, but there are some opportunities here with the Rams, and then you never know when Cooper Kupp's coming back. Should be within the next 3, 4, 5 weeks or so. Should be eventually back on the field, but who knows? We'll have to see. But Tutu Atwell is getting some opportunity here, and you need him because you like what you saw. You like the production. He's explosive. They're throwing the ball. They're slinging the rock. Matthew Stafford, you like what you saw out of him, and you need wide receiver production as well, and he's a guy you can get free off the waiver wire, and you want to check him out. You don't want him because you do not think this is sustainable. You don't think he's going to continue to do this every week. Greg Dortch did this a few times last year, and that could happen, and that's part of football. But there's a lot of volume in this game. He's got speed to burn. He's thrown in the slot. There is some opportunity there, and really depends on your roster and where you're at, too, and whether you can really take on a waiver wire claim like this. Some of you guys just rather have running backs on the back end of your roster. I like to get the running backs. A guy like Puka Nacua, I like to get. Tutu Atwell, since he's getting volume, and since we got some game scripts coming up where it could go him or Puka and maybe flip back and forth depending on how things are going, you may want one or both of these guys, however your league is set up and how deep your team is and how deep your rosters is. A lot of people watch this channel from all different types of league constructions, from deep dynasty, deep devy, deep redraft to really basic tight redraft. So I don't know, depending on what your league is, do you actually need him? If you want to turn and burn the waiver wire and you're looking at wide receiver and you could not get Puka Nacua because he was the hot waiver wire claim, then Tutu is probably like your next man up. Kendrick Bourne's up there. The wide receiver spot isn't super juicy, and also the wide receiver spot's the hardest one to replace off the waiver wire, especially once you get deeper into the season. Running back you can turn and burn with, and as long as that running back's getting touches, they got a shot to give you something. They do. But if a wide receiver steps up to a new role, that does not mean they got a shot to give you something. Tutu Atwell already gave you something. They had a good game. And if the game scripts keep blowing up like this, or if he encounters some more game scripts like this, then he's going to give you an opportunity to score more fantasy points. Cooper Kupp coming back might impact his usage a little bit because Kupp's going to be in the slot a little bit. But Tutu's got some speed. He's going to get some opportunity, and he could have some more blow-off top games. But let me know what you think about Tutu Atwell. You in, you out, you need him, you don't need him. It really depends on where you're at, how decimated you are at wide receiver, and what you need, and how you want to construct your team at this point. Because you could also make a case, hey, I need to keep going running back, turn and burn running back, because I drafted early at wide receiver, and now I feel good at just turning and burning running backs. And that's probably part of it too. And you went after Puka Nacua as well because you know what? You don't see many rookies come out right out of the gate getting you double-digit targets and looking like he did, and that makes sense as well. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out, and I'll catch you on the next video.